Okay. So we are now about 1 month after our last retreat. So I'm sitting here with Briana. Thank you so much for being here today. And we want to talk about our experience in Egypt during the last Atlantis Call retreat. So first question, who are you and where are you from?
My name is Briana, and I'm from Montreal in Quebec, Canada.
How did you hear about the Atlantis Call retreats in Egypt?
I work for the United Nations, and I am an active member on the mental health and well-being. It's like a message board or a forum. And Fabian, you actually posted about the retreat on this forum. It's been a long time that in my own team, I pursue these kinds of things, looking out for mental health and well-being in the workplace, especially with the UN. The kind of work that we do can be very challenging. So I'm always looking for things. And when I saw the Atlantis Call, it was something that really called to me.
Amazing. So just for everyone to understand, I used to be a consultant to the UN, so I did have access to the intranet, and I was so happy to find this group focusing on mental health, well-being at work, because it was a source. And after you saw the little flyer I posted about our retreat, what was the main idea for you, why you booked it?
So the first thing that really stood out to me was the pyramids, because since I was a kid, I always wanted to go to Egypt. I really had, I would say, an obsession with the pyramids and ancient Egypt. But then that was the thing that drew me in. And then once I started looking at, the whole itinerary and everything that was planned, and also the general, I think, approach of the retreat, I was very interested. I've wanted to travel to Egypt, but as a single woman, I didn't know that would be possible for me. I know that it can be, challenging. I didn't know people in Egypt. So there was a lot of different elements, like the well-being elements and also the water sports. Something I realized after and speaking with some of the other participants is the way that there was the two elements, the physical, the sports, and then the mental health and the well-being, like those two things together. And then I did stay for the second part. So like the cherry on the cake of everything else was also getting to explore so much of Egypt. So there was a lot to it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I love how you see the combination. You like the destination, and then also you're a fan of the program. So how was the experience for you?
I think I was able to say very early on, it far exceeded my expectations, like far exceeded what I thought it was going to be like, what I could have hoped for. I feel like it was so well thought out, all of the details. Each day I felt really taken care of. I think this was a big thing that I realized as well during the retreat is I'm a planner. I'm a person who generally organizes things. Even when I travel, I'm the person who puts together the itinerary. I'm the person who gets people from one place to the next. So the ability to have each night the plan for the next day, to be able to wake up and show up and know what was coming, but not have to do anything myself, was absolutely incredible. But again, just a lot of experiences that I hadn't had before, especially on the elements of the going deeper into well-being, exploring those elements. And I also didn't know about Dahab before, but I have to say that my experience there in particular it really is like a magical place. There's something so special about it and the people who are there. So again, there's almost too much to say because each piece of the retreat could stand alone, as it does, right? You have the first part, which is separate from the second part, but I loved the kite surfing, which was a really fun experience. And all of the instructors also, like my kite surfing instructor was fantastic, and a local person as well, which is very cool. And then all of the, we had the sense activation workshop, and we had the ice bath and the holotropic breathing, like the list goes on. And then, like I said, and then getting into the travel was just beyond.
How did a typical day look like, and what role played water in the journey?
So I would say like there's again the two pieces. So a typical day in the retreat is a bit different from the travel, because in the travel there was nothing typical. Everything was really, I mean, incredible. So in the first week, you know, we woke up and we had yoga, which was fantastic. We did types of yoga that I hadn't done before, like contact yoga and Kundalini. I wasn't familiar with, and now that I've been home in Montreal, I've been looking for it. So it, you know, that alone. Then we had breakfast, and you know, in the description of the retreat, it said like a healthy, yummy, or delicious breakfast, but it truly was. The food at the wind farm was delicious and nutritious. You know, I think it was really like intentional and conscious, the eating, which I thought was very good. And then after that, we would go do our own water sports. So as I mentioned, I did kite surfing for 5 days and became certified, which is super cool. Yeah, and it was really special too. I mean, I did a private lesson, which I think helped me to advance much more quickly. And the setting is stunning. You have, you know, the mountains and the desert dropping into the sea, which that alone is just beautiful. Then after the morning water sports, we often would have lunch, but I was always a bit late. So we had lunch. Also, again, the food, like I still think about the falafel, to be honest, I miss it. And so we would have lunch, and depending on the timing, we might have some free time in the afternoon, but honestly, the days were quite packed. So that could not be the case. Like we had a sound healing workshop one afternoon. So then we would have maybe some free time, and then we would have evening activities, dinner, and then the sharing circle. So I would say, yeah, as well as being like well organized and held, like there was never a moment for me to be like, oh, like what's next, or like what are we doing next? It was very packed, not in a bad way, but like very, very busy itinerary in the first week. And then I don't know if you want me to get into the second week, but the second week is like
no, it's fine. Yeah, so I would like, you know, sometimes I call this Atlantis Core Retreat an actual training, because it feels like we do a lot. And one of my friends, he once said, Fabian, are you organizing the Olympics of like well-being during this retreat? So yeah, so the retreat is essentially a week in Dahab, and then people who have more time and who want to see and travel through Egypt, they go on the journey. So yeah, feel free to tell us about it.
Yeah, the journey. It's like living two full different like worlds and two full different experiences. And each of them, yeah, could be a once in a lifetime experience on their own. So to have the two smashed together, I think I'm still even now processing and remembering. There's so much that happened. So when we left Dahab, we went first to Mount Sinai, and we got picked up by our guide, Rajib, who was just lovely, a local Bedouin person. We had lunch in St. Catherine, and then we like hiked up Mount Sinai. We slept on the mountain, which my family still can't believe, so that we were there for the sunrise. The sunrise itself was, for me, like one of the most like mystical, sort of like magical moments in the trip. And I can't really put into words the feelings, honestly.
Yeah.
And part of the experience, so we were in Sinai, right, for 2 days. We hiked up the mountain, Mount Musa, and then we hiked back down. We went to the monastery and then went into the valley. But something that really blew me away that I didn't even know or expect was the hospitality of the Bedouin people that we got to meet. They were so welcoming, kind, generous, and it was such a interesting cultural experience for me that I really appreciated, and I thought was very interesting. But then it continues. Then we went from there. I'm trying to remember the order of things. We went to Alguna. So we flew to Alguna, which was such a stark contrast between staying, sleeping outdoors under the stars, really sort of like roughing it, if you want to say so, to going to Alguna, which I had not heard of, which is a resort town. So it's beautiful, stunning, crazy accommodation. And we met Angela, who is
she's amazing,
incredible. Dolphin Watch Alliance, talking about the preservation of dolphins in the Red Sea, but she spoke really broadly about protecting dolphins. And she's such a passionate, impressive person that just getting to meet her and hear about her work was incredible. And then we went on a boat with her and went to go see these wild dolphins, which again, I had no expectation. I like kind of couldn't believe that we were going to see dolphins, even though, you know, you knew, but I wasn't sure. And so we went to the reef, we got to snorkel, but then we found the dolphins. And then not only that, we got to go in the water and we swam with wild dolphins, which was incredible. Also, again, learning about how to do it in a way that we're not imposing ourselves in their space, letting them come to us, doing it in responsible ways that are not harassing. Like, it was so, again, so special to go with her to really learn a lot about like the harm that can be done and a lot about the work that she's doing. So it felt, you know, safe, secure, and responsible in all of those ways. And then we stayed 2 nights in Alguna, and then we went after that to Ras Mohammed, right? Oh, you're muted.
Actually, I remembered we went to Ras Mohammed right after Mount Sinai, and then we
Right.
went to Aguna.
Right. Okay. You see, there's so much.
Yeah.
So we went to Ras Mohammed. Did we? I thought. Anyways.
It's the national park
Yes.
close to Sharm el-Sheikh, where we went to go snorkeling.
Oh no, no, I know. This is we slept in tents on the beach. I think you're right, because it was like also surreal that we were on the highest mountain in Egypt, okay, one day. And then we drove and we went to Ras Mohammed and we saw these like kilometers deep coral reefs. So literally, like, from the height to the depth, I don't think you could go further, like, in such a short amount of time. Yeah, Ras Mohammed, a national park, which was very interesting to see. Again, the landscape is beautiful there. It's almost Martian, I feel, because it's really not developed. We stayed in these tents on the water, which was mind-blowing. So much of this experience for me was really, like I said, so far beyond what I could have expected. And yeah, I had researched about the reefs in the Red Sea, and I had actually been snorkeling in the Great Barrier Reef, which is one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And I have to say that the reef at Ras Mohammed, very much like on the same level scale of beauty and like how impressive it was. So something very unique for sure. And then after all of this, finally, we went to Cairo. And it's so funny that, like, going through the whole trip, I was thinking about how much I wanted to go to the pyramids and this part of the trip, but it not in no way does it disappoint, but it was like there were so many other pieces that I hadn't known to expect, or I didn't realize were going to be so impactful and so just amazing and beautiful, that by the time we got to the pyramids, I was like, even if I didn't see the pyramids at this point, it doesn't matter, you know? And so, yeah, we spent a few days in Cairo, which was really interesting too, because I generally am a person, I live in the city. I really like cities. So I was interested to see Cairo as a city. And then going with Scheherazade, who gave us her tour of the pyramids. Yeah, again, another place that was so powerful that I still don't think I have fully wrapped my head around it. I kind of can't believe that I got to be there and see that. And it's something that, I mean, for me, once in a lifetime, like, it's something I've always wanted, and to be able to go and do that with the people that we were with, because that's the other part of, like, talking about all of the, what was a day like, what the difference of this trip for me immensely was the people who came together for this experience, because it was such an incredible, unique group. It was so amazing. The people that you were able to bring together, you know, people who are well advanced in their journey on wellness, but also some really inspirational artists, people who are also other people who run these kinds of trips. So, like, lots of people who are very, I don't know how to say, like, self-aware, but have like a depth of care for other people. And then also other participants who are these successful high achievers, people who are really impressive in their own right, who, again, like, I felt really lucky to get connected with them, because they're really impressive, you know, people who have made it in a lot of ways, who it's so interesting to see them come together with all of these other people who, like I say, are these creative, spiritual, artistic, you know, like, I don't think I've ever been with such a collection of people that I was really impressed with, that I felt really blessed to get to spend time with. So to get to go and do all of these things with all of these people really is another piece, I think, that is important to mention, because it wouldn't have been the same with a different group.
Yeah, I totally agree. People coming to the retreat are key. On the one hand, we have our crew, and when choosing crew members, I really try to find people who are in the way free spirits, which means they have gone through a lot to get where they are. And this is highly inspirational, I feel, for all of us. And then, of course, the guests are also so inspirational because, yeah, most of them, or many of them, actually all of us, of course, are high achievers, but with a lot of depth. Like, why am I here? What are we doing? And this is why I'm so humbled to work with all of you, with the crew and our guests, because I feel you're doing such incredible work out there in the world, in the private sector, in the public sector with the UN. And if you're inspired and can work on your well-being on this retreat and the journey, then I have accomplished my mission, because then you will be more happy and do even better work in the world. So I wanted to share my favorite moment of the journey and the retreat. It's been clearly climbing Mount Sinai. It's something I've been looking forward to for a very long time, and I haven't done it myself before we went on this journey together. So also to continuously keep the retreat and journey exciting for all of us, we do new stuff. For example, Mount Sinai. And for me, it was a very intense moment. I remember after having slept on the mountain, we encountered this group of Asian-looking Christians, and they started singing at sunrise. And there was just a very, very magic, and I felt a very divine connection at that moment. And lots of gratitude. So that was mine. How about you? Do you remember like any sort of highlight or transformational moment?
I think for me, it wouldn't be, let's say, one moment. I think for me, it was a lot to do with the like well-being elements of the first part of the week, the first week, because it really gave me insights about myself. I am a person who I am invested in self-improvement. I am invested in my mental health and well-being, but I got to participate in things so one was the sharing circles, something that you organized to be every single night, even once we continued on the journey, that I didn't anticipate would have such a deep impact on me, but really impressed me. I was blown away by everyone's candor, the way that people shared. It really inspired me to also, go deeper and share more on my own. But yeah, I have to say all of those pieces. So the sense activation workshop was incredible. Getting to participate in a cacao ceremony and a blue lotus ceremony, the holotropic breathing, the ice bath, I also did like a one-on-one for the focusing. So I would say those elements really, and something that I said while I was in the retreat is, it felt for me like a beginning to something, like I was starting this work. So I would say that is very transformational for me, because it's really opened my eyes to more of what's possible for me as far as like this other element of my life that, exactly as you say, like, I think it's so important to invest in rest and reset, because I want to continue to do the work that I do for the rest of my life, hopefully. But, in this industry, there's a lot of burnout. There's a lot of people who just run themselves into the ground. And so I think that taking care of yourself means you can better take care of others. So for me, those pieces were something that I really hope to be able to invest in further in the future.
Yeah, which brings me to the last question. Who do you think should attend this retreat? And this is something I have a lot on my mind, because I reach quite a lot of people with this retreat. In terms of like outreach on, the UN intranet, on Facebook and LinkedIn. I have exposure to a big business community, and there seems to be an increasing interest for mental health and well-being. However, at least in my experience, it still seems to be niche. Yeah. So for me, it's still a bit like people are like sometimes, yeah, this is like maybe a luxury thing to do, in particular during the financial crisis we are now in or about to enter.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess my question is, for who is this? And also, how can we like excite more people to go on this healing journey? Because it's worth it, I feel.
I would say 100% it's worth it. Like there's no doubt in my mind that this is very much worth the price of entry, the cost of being there is actually, I think I might have mentioned this to you before. I think the value for money actually exceeds what I feel I paid, but that's a different story. But in terms of who this is for, I think honestly, it is a good question, because I feel like, as I mentioned before, like, or I even talked about on the trip, this year for myself, I had really been reflecting about how I wanted to go further in my own well-being journey, in the sense that, you know, I do therapy, I do yoga, I try to meditate, but I never make time for it, these kinds of things. I'm aware that for myself as well, exercise is really important for my like mental health as well as well-being. So again, the way in which this retreat sort of offered the opportunity of both, because there's a lot of activity. So it's interesting as a question, because I don't think there's anyone who would not benefit from attending. Literally any person honestly should consider coming to this. But at the same time, I think that someone who has already reflected that they want to go deeper in their mental health, that they actually want to explore, investigate, learn more, like you have to come with an open mind and an open spirit, I think is the thing. So who is it for? Anyone, but it's more like you have to be open and willing. And I think that the second you make the decision that you want to attend, you already know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, this is something I've heard from many of our previous guests. They were like, I saw this and I knew this was for me.
Mhm.
Like one guy who just joined from Sweden, actually, who was with us, he said, I saw this and I signed up and I talked to you. Everyone, of course, speaks to me before booking, because it's, you know, it's an investment, and also we are still starting up. So we're like a small company. But he was like, you know, I booked and I didn't even really understand that I can choose between like all these different water sports. And this is like one type of person that books, and others are like, I know everything, I've read everything like you, and I know I want to do Pilates in the morning and I want to do scuba diving, for example, you know? So anyways, I'm always very happy when people see the concept and grasp it and love it, of course. And yeah, I'm just feeling blessed and inspired and so thankful to speak to you also. You are like true power woman with all your vulnerability and strength at the same time.
Thank
So
you.
I would like to thank you so much for everything, and that you're continuously being part of the journey and supporting us also with this beautiful interview.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I can stop recording, or
Okay. See,
Yeah.
oh, wait, one more thing. We're having our next retreat in April.
Mhm.
We tend to run the retreats in April and October. So anyone interested, please get in touch.
Perfect.